fine.
I'd like to call the March meeting of the Jackson City School Board of Education to order. Roll call, please.
I don't want to.
Mr. McDonald?
Present.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Ms. Harless?
Here.
Dr. Morris?
Here.
Ms. Smith?
Here.
And can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll move on. I need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We
do roll on that.
Call on the agenda.
Okay. Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Dr. Morris?
Yes.
Ms. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes. Now I need an approval on the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Dr. Morris?
Yes.
Ms. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes. All right. There's, move on to public participation, which we have none, but there's an item that I'll turn over to Mr. Howard to just talk about.
We are required by law that if the board is considering the rehire of an employee to allow for public input regarding that rehire. The board will not be actually deciding or voting on anything this evening, but there has to be a meeting where the public is allowed to come and give their opinion on the matter. It's been advertised in the paper and so forth, so this is the opportunity for anyone who wants to provide any input on the potential rehire of Scott Lowe. All right, hearing none, I'm going to move on to the consent agenda. It is recommended that the board approve the consent agenda as follows. Item A is approval of resignations. There are a few supplementals, actually one teacher, a couple of classified resignations there. Item B is a recommendation to employ individuals on supplemental contracts for the spring, for this upcoming spring. Item C is a recommendation to employ individuals for supplemental contracts for the fall of the next school year. Item D is a recommendation to employ Donna Baker as a classified substitute. Item E, a recommendation to approve Mason Sheets and Blake Wyatt as volunteers in the athletic program. Item F is a recommendation to advance the band, the Jackson High School Band, $6,661.28 for the purchase of new uniforms. Ms. Hill has set them up on a payment plan, and we've done this several times over the last few years. They've always paid us off, so they need to purchase some new uniforms. So, item G is a recommendation to approve the band to go to Disney, and this will be in April of 2022. Now, I've spoken to Mr. Hurd, and he's well aware that who knows what it'll be like then, but the fact is that if they're going to have any chance to go, we have to approve that now so that they can begin their fundraising efforts. We can't wait until this time next year and expect them to be able to raise the funds to take the band on that trip. So he's well aware, the students and the parents are well aware that that decision could change depending upon what COVID's like at that time. Item H is a recommendation to approve an agreement for services to a student. Item I is a recommendation to renew contracts for a list of people there. And I always say this every year, this is a formality for this group of people. We have to allow our full-time people, classified people, the opportunity to bid on those positions. Most of the time, those people are generally rehired in the same capacity, but those jobs will need to be posted. Item J is a recommendation to approve a contract with Milhoff Stang CPA for certified public accountant services. Item K is a recommendation to adopt a resolution urging against state standardized testing this year. That was brought to us by some of our teachers from the JCEA. Just think it's a bad idea to pile that on to students and teachers with all that's happened this year, to expect them to be able to perform at a high level on state tests. Item L is a recommendation to approve policy updates. Item M is a recommendation to approve a master service agreement with Meta. We do this every year. Item N is a recommendation to approve the Jackson High School Stay-at-Home Committee. And I believe that concludes the consent agenda.
Any items need removed for separate consideration from any board members? If not, need a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Dr. Morris?
Yes.
Ms. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes. We move on to new business. There's a couple items under new business. I'll let Mr. Howard.
I'd like to recommend reemployment of Mr. Kuhn as an elementary principal for a 3-year contract.
Need a motion and a second.
May we discuss this for a minute?
Yes. Sure.
Does he do extra things other than being elementary principal?
He helps with the after-school program. It's through the ESC.
Is that the Success Program?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay.
Anyone else have any items, any discussion on it? If not, a motion and a second.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Dr. Morris?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Hemsley and myself would like to recommend Jamie Johnston be reemployed as assistant maintenance supervisor under a new 3-year contract.
There's no discussion. I need a motion and a second.
I'll
So
make a
moved.
motion.
Kim,
Second.
Kim and Alice.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Harless?
Yes.
Mr. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Dr.
Yes.
And we'll move on to the treasurer's report. Ms. Hill.
The treasurer's report is as submitted.
Okay. Need a motion and a second to approve the treasurer's report as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Harless?
Yes.
Dr. Morris?
Yes.
Mr. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes. Move on, information discussion items. We have 3 items there. Mr. Howard.
Yeah, this is not something that I'm asking the board to make a decision on this evening, but something that I do want you to be thinking about as we move forward here and begin to prepare for next year. And that is whether or not we want to offer an online option for education for next year. I've got mixed emotions about it, and it's still too early, I think, right now to even make a final decision. We need to wait and see how COVID is. I will tell you that our last 9 weeks starts on Monday, and we've had a ton of kids that have come back full-time and have come off of online. I will also tell you that here in the last couple of weeks, our new juvenile judge has cracked a whip, and he's sent a bunch of kids back.
Good.
So, I mean, we've had a lot of kids that opted, and parents that opted for the online program that have really done well with it, and we've had some that haven't done squat with it. And, of course, we filed in court on a lot of those students, and the judge is sending them back. He's ordering them to come back to school. He's ordering them into our after-school program. And I don't think that he's messing around from what I've seen. We've actually got, there's such a backlog since he took over. This coming Saturday, we're going to have, he's having court on Saturday, and he's bringing in 80 kids. Now, they're not all ours. They're from here and Wellston. And in order to get himself caught up to where he can handle them as they come about, he needed to have this one big group hearing on Saturday. So many of our principals will be in attendance for that meeting on Saturday. But I just want to commend Justin Skaggs on the job that he's done so far. I know it's early in his tenure, but he's definitely setting the right tone out of the
Good
chute
job.
that we're not going to put up with kids not coming to school, and we're not going to put up with parents not making their kids come to school. So having said that, I think that for next year, we need to decide at some point if we're going to offer online or we're going to offer it at maybe certain levels and not other levels. Personally, unless things change, I would be recommending that we don't have an online option at the elementary level. I think that those kids need to be in school. I think, will some people choose to go to Odella or High Virtual or something like that? Probably, maybe a few. But I think that if that option's not there, they'll come to school. So that's probably the direction that I'm headed as far as a recommendation. Maybe at the high school level, I mean, I have seen, and Mr. Haynes has also, we've seen some kids be really successful with the online option at the high school. It's given some kids the opportunity to still be able to do their work and get their diploma, and some of them have gotten jobs and those kind of things. So maybe that's something that you'd still want to offer it at the high school level. The middle school is just like always on everything. It's kind of half and half. Kind of split one way or the other on the middle school. I mean, we've got kids that seem like they're elementary kids, and we got kids that seem like they're high school kids there. So I'm kind of torn on the middle school. But I want you to be thinking about that in the coming weeks so that we can prepare for the next school year. Again, it's not something that we need to do tonight, but does anybody have any questions or comments regarding that?
I have a question. How have the teachers, how do they feel? I mean, I know we put a lot on some of them that chose to do it, but have you talked to any of them and gotten any
I think
thoughts?
that, our elementary teachers they're doing it themselves for our elementary online component. The middle school and the high school, we have teachers that are assigned, but it's different because there's a program and they don't have to, I don't know, for lack of a better term, it's not as labor intensive as what the elementary is. Fair statement? So, I think that the elementary people, they would probably do it again if we need to, and I don't think there'll be as many if we would offer it next year. The high school and the middle school, I think we could probably do it in-house. But we also could, we talked about last year, we could outsource it. I don't want to be in a situation where, I'm having to worry at the end of every grading period, are our people going to continue to do this? And I know some of them are tired because it's been a long year and you teach all day, and then you've taken this on that you're going to do this online component, so then your day's not over because you still got to do they're getting paid for it, but it still makes your day really long. So I don't know how tired those people will be at the end of the year, and maybe the summer break will refresh them and they'll be ready to go again come the fall. But that is something that I think has to be taken into consideration when we make that decision of are we going to have people that are going to be able to do it. So.
Mr. Howard, the kids that you said you've filed on that Justin Skaggs is seeing and sending back, what's the range of ages there? Is it mostly high school or middle school age kids, a lot of elementary kids?
I think it's the whole gamut. I mean, I know some of our elementary principals have been there. Mr. Haynes, I think Mr. Schwackhammer was there the last couple of days.
He was there, yeah, yesterday and today, and then we only have 2 Saturday, because they got a lot of ours out of the way today, and Mr. Slackhammer said nothing but good things, about the seriousness that Judge Skaggs is taking this and the importance that he's placing on those kids being in school.
There were 2 kids who didn't show up, and he told one of the people that worked for the court, go get them. And so
I heard the
he went and
deputy
got
go get
them and the parents at that point in time and brought them into the courtroom.
I heard the deputies instructed to go get them.
Yeah, so,
That's good.
he's definitely
That's great.
starting off on the right foot here.
They'll learn.
The other thing that I wanted to talk about, and this is probably more Mr. Haynes than myself, is prom and graduation update. And, the rules are changing all the time. They're starting to loosen up a little more, and who knows what it'll be by the time that comes around. It seems like every time we feel like we've got a plan, there's new rule changes. So, Mr. Haynes, I'm going to give you the floor.
Sure. Can you guys hear me okay back here?
Yes?
So myself and Mrs. Marks, we met with our senior class officers, and we met with the stay-at-home committee and just discussed options. And we did this a few weeks ago. And of course, at that time, you're under one set of rules and you make a plan, and now things have changed a little bit. But what we had discussed at that time is moving prom to May 15th, which does a couple things. It pushes it back so that the weather is better, so that we can look at having the walkthrough, the traditional walkthrough ceremonies outside. Because of the number of kids that attend our prom, even giving out a ticket to each person in the couple, that would exceed your seating capacity inside. So looking at May 15th for the walkthrough and the prom activities, so that we can utilize the outside venue, weather permitting, just like everything else. And what the stay-at-home committee would like to do is they are on board with having a formal sit-down dinner that they would put on at the park's edge, and then have stay-at-home activities in the adjacent Manpower Park after that. I think that's a very good experience for our kids. And one of the things that we talked about and we wanted to make sure happens is that formal sit-down dinner is affordable for everybody, and they assured me it was. They were working to do that. And they are, of course, open to accepting any donations that individuals or businesses in the community want to make for that. The governor a couple weeks ago did say, hey, proms, weddings can go on, but at the same time, they also said you need to follow all current health orders, which current health orders for businesses and venues say that, you are supposed to be masked when you're up, you're still supposed to maintain social distancing, you are still, supposed to keep sanitation going, as an ongoing thing. So those do prohibit some of the normal prom-type activities at this time. Between now and May 15th, can they make changes to that? Absolutely. But the problem is when you're looking at having venues and you're getting caterers and these kind of things, you have to start making plans now so that everything can be in place and that can run as smoothly as possible. So that's kind of where we are with the prom. The other thing having it May 15th does, if there would be a situation where there was an exposure and there would be a need to quarantine, then those seniors involved would not be quarantined for graduation, which this year is the 28th. Okay, it would be a possibility they could miss baccalaureate, which would be the 1 week afterwards, but they would not be quarantined for senior day activities and for graduation. And we fully anticipate graduation being closer to normal, although like with athletic events we've had this year, we'll have to limit, who can attend due to the capacity of the venue. So again, we will be blessed if we can have that outside, because that opens up the number of individuals that each student gets to invite. If it comes inside, then we'd have to limit it. And there's details around those plans that we have to work out. But we are fully committed to having those senior day activities, and we're hoping to be able to have those outside, because then that will allow our students to have more people there to support them than what they would if they had to be at an inside venue right now.
Question. Have you thought about us changing the way we set the kids and maybe have them facing this way instead of using both sides?
We've talked about, that's one of the things that we talked about was looking at, for the outside seating to maximize capacity and give everybody kind of, the view is arranging it so that the senior class would be on the end of the field nearest the video board and the band seating, so that then you would have the spectators, the families and friends and everything, filling both sides of the bleachers. And we would probably, in that case, we would probably do an egress like we would inside, where we would take them back to the field house and release them from there with their diplomas, as opposed to having everybody rush the field, so that we can maintain some social distancing and those protocols. So there's some of those intricacies we're in the process of working out, and things will become clear as we get closer to that
Right.
time.
Okay, thank you.
Another one.
Mhm.
Are you planning to do anything with the honors awards night like we always did?
We will have, we believe that we can have, you're talking about like senior scholarship night?
Scholarships?
Yes, the senior scholarship night, we will be doing the selections, and I'll be getting with Mr. McDonald about the dates for that. But we expect it to be very similar. This Thursday night, we're actually having our NHS ceremonies.
Okay.
And it'll be kind of like a trial run for that, where we are going to limit who gets to come. And, we've had athletic contests, so we fully think we can have a scholarship night that would resemble a sporting event where you have a limited number of students, or a limited number of family members for each student, and utilize the gym, in order to maintain social distancing. And that's what we're looking at for our spring band concert as well as they're gonna do a special night for the singers only for the band, and then singers only for the choir, and utilizing the gym where we have more space and we can do some of those things.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Mr. Haynes?
Spring sports, if you're interested in that, Mr. Stevens is working with the current OHSA guidelines, getting, the outside seating capacities and areas set up for that too. So, that's an ongoing process as well.
It looked like, just at a glance, that some of the rules and restrictions are tighter than they were for indoor sports.
They do seem to be, yes. We're talking about outdoor sports, and you want to have a conference on the baseball or softball field, and if you want to have a defensive conference, you have to stand outside the pitcher's circle outside the mound, and they have to be 6 feet apart. It's hard to talk strategy when the other team's not, be able to hear you if you're that far apart and stuff. So that's some stuff that Mr. Stevens and the coaches are all going to work through with that.
To tell the third base coach from the other team to put his hands over his ears so he can't hear your
And
strategy.
we're going to utilize hometown ticketing again in the spring for athletics, and we're also going to utilize the hometown ticketing when we do these other events, because we can set it up so that like for Thursday night, they're going to have a digital ticket, but it did not cost them anything. Mr. Stevens can set it up so it's at no cost, but they're still doing the digital ticketing so that we can limit and have more control over who comes into the venues.
Thank you, Mr. Haynes. Also, just wanted to mention that we did receive our first COVID vaccination as a district, and we had a really nice turnout for that. I want to thank Kevin Aston and the health department, and I believe some people were here from Holzer that helped out with that. Many of our people got their first vaccination. Our second one is coming up on the 26th. Is that right? Yeah, the 26th. We will do a remote learning day that day as well, like we did this past time. So we'll be getting information out about that here in the coming days. And one other thing that I did want to touch on, actually I'm going to let Dr. Crabtree, we have a speaker coming to school tomorrow. We actually tried to have this last year, but it was right at this time and we got shut down. So Deb, if you want to talk just a second about that.
I will. We're very happy. We got shut down 3 times. Well, tomorrow's our 3rd time, so I'm counting it lucky tomorrow. We're having Chris Herron come to Jackson High School to speak tomorrow morning. He will be presenting a program to the seniors live in the auditorium, or rather in the gym. He will be live streamed to all the students in the other classrooms, thanks to our technology people here. Then he will be having a question and answer session with the seniors in the gym. After that, he will have 2 of our seniors who are on the media team will have the opportunity to interview him, and that will be part of his program that he has nationally. He has a program called Heron Talks and a Heron Wellness Center. All of this is about substance abuse and addiction. If you are not familiar with his story, you can YouTube and Google and find lots of programs, TED Talks, things that he's presented. He is a national speaker. He's probably most famous as a basketball player. And that's one of the things that he talks about is all the opportunities he had and lost because of his addiction. His message then will be taken to the middle school after lunch. There, he will be speaking with the 8th graders in the auditorium. He will be live streamed to the other students, and the same thing, there's question and answer, but we do not have an opportunity for the students to interview him there. But we think it's going to be an outstanding program that should have great impact on the students.
It's a shame that we can't do it the way we would normally, where we would have all of our students in to be able to watch it live. But because of COVID, we had to come up with a way that we could have some of the kids, so we're doing the oldest kids in both buildings will get to watch him live, and then they'll pipe it into the rooms so the rest of the students can watch it. So, and you know the times on those, Deb, in case anybody wants to come?
8:30 at the high school and 12:30 at the middle school.
So 8:30 tomorrow at the high school, if you're interested, and 12:30 at the middle school.
What are we going to do when these two young men graduate? Are they training somebody to take their spot?
Well, I sure hope so.
I do too.
I know I count on them.
Oh, trust me, we wouldn't know what to do without them.
Job security, guys.
That's all I have.
Any items for board members? Mr. Howard, do you have anything else?
I don't.
Okay. Seeing nothing else, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Second.